सीक्रेटली सारा इसके बंद कर दो आने से पहले मैं सब पूरा क्लास एंटार्क्टिका में बैठी रहती हूँ ऊपर से पीछे बैठना पड़ता है उसके चक्कर में कोई सुनता नहीं है मेरा
आगे का बंद रखना
ये
ये क्या है ये फैल मुझे नहीं हो सकता अरे बैठ से हो जा अरे नहीं तो क्या मेरी बात
someone gonna put their ass there and you step over
oh no my slipper is very brand new
तो उधर बैठा है अंदर बैठ गया ये तो बीच में
no
जियो का वेबकैम है भाई
जो मेरा पेन
जियो का वेबकैम है
तो वेरी स्माइल
अरे जियो का
वो एनर्जी में मार गया
अरे
on you please
अरे
मैं
श्रुति का अच्छा ही है
बहुत अच्छा दोस्त है परी का दिख रहा है परी एकदम सेक्सी वाली
पट्टी भाई पट्टी
एक इसकी पट्टी तू बैठ जा
पट्टी
हां पट्टी
मत कर भाई ये सब
एक परी बहुत सेक्सी दिख रहा है क्या उसको गॉगल लगा है फालतू जैसा कोई तो इतना अच्छा दिख रहा है अरे तू मुझे मत करनी है अच्छा दिख रहा है ना देखने तो दे अच्छा
ये लोग
अरे बैठ
अरे बहुत है बहुत
अरे यार ये खौफ चल रहा है मैं भी हूं से भाई खौफ चल रहा है को मैं साथ आ रहा है वही सॉरी भाई यूं मुझे काम बैग गिरा दिया दियो मेरा बैग गिरा दिया ओए ये देख SND का ऐसा देना
आवाज देख लिया मैंने वॉशरूम में हमें देखा इनेबल टू निशान है हमें
बड़ा
नहीं है हम लोग
मत बता
भाई उसको वैसे भी पता चली जाए वो अपने बेस्ट फ्रेंड क्या
वो अंदर से बैठ
सामने ही
अरे पोजीशन नहीं है
भाई बायो वाली नाम आई तुम लोग
हाँ तो इधर अपन
वो मेरे
Good evening. How are you all? Good. What did we study last class? Life processes. Life process we are going to study another 2 months. Was it today?
Last time we learned about class.
We were studying
Work.
homework. Who forgot homework? Why? 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 That was the first class you don't know? 10th standard holiday plan करना बंद करो. All done? Okay, good. Now, शुरू हो गया? Excuse पे excuse? 10th standard में excuse नहीं चलेगी. I'm going to see all your work. I'll put a note there. Let your parents also find out what you all are doing here. 10th standard, very serious right from the beginning. Let me complete 1 or 2 topics. After that, I'm going to take a round. I'm going to check all your work. So, what was the last topic? Tell me. Chloroplast, photosynthesis. Did we finish or we did not?
इसका बिना फॉर्मूला याद रखिए. मैम पेपर ऑफ क्लोरोफिल.
Paper was chlorophyll. Okay. Any doubts so far? How many of you?
Yes, ma'am. Doubt, ma'am.
अरे doubt है?
Ma'am, what is the answer for the third one?
What is it? कितने वाले को doubt है?
Third question is mentioned two sides of the
What is it?
process.
हाँ, वो doubt है खाली.
Yes, yes, ma'am.
And chloroplast is one.
Last time.
What is it? Ask.
So what is tomato?
How many of you got time to read the textbook? I told you no. Whatever I have finished, read the first 2 pages of the textbook. How many of you got time to read? Read 1 and 2 and 3. Oh, rest are so busy.
Reading.
Finally.
Not answer that group.
Textbook पढ़ा? Very good. Read the textbook. As and when we finish parts of the chapter, read the textbook and NCERT. Now we are going to start. We are going to look into the next part of the chapter. Let us again continue. All the questions. Did you get the answers for all?
Yes, ma'am.
What is there? AC नहीं चाहिए? आपको वैसे रिमोट Your signature corner as it is. अच्छा मुझे पेज नंबर तो बोलो. Which is the page number? पेज नंबर क्या है बोलो? 137. I'm not able to find. Give me 1 minute. See what the topics are. We continue with photosynthesis. No talking. Hello, sir. You are supposed to keep quiet in the classroom. Now we continue the concept of photosynthesis. What more we are going to study about the process of photosynthesis? What did we come across? What was the overall chemical equation? The overall chemical equation of photosynthesis was six molecules of carbon dioxide, 12 molecules of water,
Gives us
and sunlight and chlorophyll.
gives us the product of
molecules of oxygen and 6 molecules of water. Overall chemical equation of photosynthesis, you are supposed to remember this comes for 1 mark. See that you don't make any mistake with this particular question. 6 molecules of water, carbon dioxide, 12 molecules of water always gives 1 molecule of glucose. Now, I think this part already we had discussed the other day when we are talking about concepts like what are the raw materials. I think already we are done with this part, raw materials, and what were those. If you remember, we had already talked about the raw materials, carbon dioxide. What was the process by which carbon dioxide entered the leaf cells? That was diffusion. The process by which carbon dioxide entered diffusion, and the structures by which carbon dioxide enter would be stomata, and certain basic concepts about the stomata that we were discussing was that stomata are pores, special pores on the higher surface of the leaf, etc. And they are made up of guard cells, etc. Okay, we are going to study the basic structure also today. Then we were also talking about water, and when we talk about water, we come to know that water the main source is what? From where does the plant get the water? From the soil, and the process was what? What did you understand? The process was, how does the plant cells get the water? Osmosis. How does the plant cells get the water? Osmosis, by the way of the root cells. So this is what we had discussed. After this, raw materials, under the concept of raw materials, we were also talking about chlorophyll. Did you do any question on this? Chlorophyll. Chlorophyll, the green colored pigment. Now this chlorophyll, we must have already discussed this, that this chlorophyll is a green colored pigment produced by the chloroplast. And this green colored pigment, which is produced by the chloroplast. So what is the relation between these two words, chloroplast and chlorophyll? When you are asked to write a difference between these two words, chloroplast, chlorophyll. The difference would be chloroplast is a cell organelle that the plant cells possess. Where is it present in the plant cell? In the cytoplasm, of the plant cell. And what is chlorophyll then? Chlorophyll is a green colored photosynthetic pigment. What is the function of chloroplast? The function of chloroplast is to produce chlorophyll, secrete chlorophyll, synthesize chlorophyll. Then what would be the function of chlorophyll? To write their solar energy. So this is one typical question which is asked. Always remember the basic difference to write between chlorophyll, chloroplast. We'll answer this later. Now, if I talk about the chloroplast, again remember the chloroplast is a double wall structure, double wall cell organelle. It has got a complex structure, but we are not going to study all the details of the structure right now. And here we are only to remember 2 or 3 parts of this cell organelle. And this particular cell organelle has certain disc-like structures like this, plate-like structures like this, and these plate-like structures, they remain connected. What are these single disc-like structures known as? These are known as thylakoids. What are these called? Thylakoids. And the entire bundle, the entire stack of thylakoids, this is known as granum. This is known as granum. Then surrounding the granum. Now granum is a singular word. Remember, you will come across in your book also mentioned as grana. Now is grana and granum two different words? No, they are just a singular and a plural terms actually. So when I talk about the thylakoids, what are thylakoids? Plate-like structures where the chlorophyll is formed and stored. Inside this particular organelle, the chlorophyll is produced and the chlorophyll is stored. So this is thylakoid that I'm talking about. What are these matrix-like structure known as? This matrix-like structure is known as stroma. So the chloroplast, if I have to talk about, the chloroplast has got some basic structures to remember, the stroma and the grana. Which are the basic structures I have to remember now here is the stroma and the grana. What is stroma? Nothing but cytoplasm-like substance actually. Some gel-like substance, matrix-like substance, where a large number of proteins, enzyme, pigments are present, where various sets of chemical reactions take place. And granum that I talk about is a stack of thylakoid. Why did we understand thylakoid as an important part? What is so important about the thylakoid here? It is the site where chlorophyll is produced and stored. So for the time being, just remember these two words. We are going to come across this again later. Now, difference between these two words. Very fast, take down these points of differences. Chloroplast and chlorophyll. Make a table. Difference between chloroplast and chlorophyll we will write down in a table. 2 points of differences. Write fast. 2 points of differences between chloroplast and chlorophyll. Write fast. Under chloroplast, write down cell organelle present in cytoplasm of plant cells. Cell organelle present. What happened? Dreaming away. Come here. Put the bag in between both of you there. You come this side. Cell or chloroplast. Cell organelle present in the cytoplasm of plant cells. Following? क्लोरोप्लास्ट में बता रही हूँ पहले. हाँ, क्लोरोप्लास्ट. Cell organelle present in the cytoplasm of plant cells. Other side, chlorophyll. Green colored photosynthetic pigment. Green colored photosynthetic pigment. Green colored photosynthetic pigment. Second point, for chloroplast, major function is the secretion of chlorophyll. Function is secretion of chlorophyll. Secretion of chlorophyll. Other side, chlorophyll. Function is the trapping of. Function is the trapping of solar energy. Function is the trapping of solar energy. Function is the trapping of solar energy. Done? Now, this is a major difference to remember, chloroplast, chlorophyll. And now I am talking about the structure of the chlorophyll, certain parts. We are going to study about the phases and the steps of photosynthesis later. But now let us try understanding what are the products of photosynthesis. Here, what is the form of organic food produced by the plant cells? What is your answer? The form of organic food is glucose. What is the form of organic food? It is glucose. What are the other byproducts? Now this is already understood. We are talking about oxygen and water. You are asked questions. Name the primary product of photosynthesis. What will you write? You will only write glucose. Understanding? Name the primary product. Primary product means what? What is the main product of photosynthesis? So what is the primary product? Primary product is this one only to write. Name the byproducts of photosynthesis. What will you write? Byproducts, this and this. Name the byproducts. At that time, are you supposed to write glucose? No, at that time, you will not write glucose. What are the byproducts? The byproducts are oxygen and water. Oxygen and water. Now, when we are talking about the products of photosynthesis, what about the products and what happens to the different products of photosynthesis? First of all, let us talk about glucose. What happens to glucose? Now that glucose is formed in the plant cells, where? In the leaf cells. Now that glucose is formed in the leaf cells. So if I have to understand, is there any special feature about the leaf cells to carry out the process of photosynthesis? Yes. Look into the layer of cells of the leaf. Try understanding that talking about the section of a leaf, every particular leaf has variable layers of cells. Every particular leaf will have variable layers of cells. And is it necessary that every cell of the leaf undergoes the process of photosynthesis? No. Every cell of the leaf will not undergo the process of photosynthesis. So I understand that there are certain type of cells where the number of which organelle chloroplasts, the number of chloroplasts is maximum. Those type of cells are only undergoing the process of photosynthesis. So I would name this group of cells as the epidermal cells. This is the upper epidermis. I would name this also as epidermal cells, but this can be named as the lower epidermal cells. Where is the stomata present? The stomata is present here in the form of some bean-shaped cells, which we are naming as the guard cells. Are these cells known as the epidermal cells carrying out the process of photosynthesis? No, these cells are not carrying out the process of photosynthesis. These cells, the epidermal cells at the upper layer of the leaf and the lower layers of the leaf, the uppermost and the lowermost layer of the leaf, they don't carry out the process of photosynthesis. Why? But because they don't possess this cell organelle. Which is this cell organelle I am marking in red? This cell organelle that I am marking in red are the chloroplasts. So, though I understand that the epidermal as well as all the other different type of cells are the cells of the leaf, should we say that all of them undergo the process of photosynthesis? No. Unless and until the cells are having chloroplast, the cells cannot undergo the process of photosynthesis. Then, which are these group of cells that we have to remember which undergo the process of photosynthesis? Take a note of this name. This group of cells are known as the mesophyll cells. So, what are mesophyll cells? The group of cells, the cells of the leaf which carry a large number of chloroplasts, which contain large number of chloroplasts. Where are these mesophyll cells present? In the section of a leaf. You have got one diagram there. And if you look into the diagram in the textbook, there's one diagram about the section of the leaf. And there's certain layers of the leaf already shown. So you can mark there in the diagram also. These upper layers of the cells are mesophyll cells. Mark those layers of cells as mesophyll cells. Check in the diagram if you are able to see. Check those diagrams there. Yeah, one minute. In this also it is there. Wait, I'll show you. Let me see if I have this here. I'll show you. This is the diagram. Check in your book. This diagram is there. This diagram is not there in your textbook. Textbook. That diagram is important. What is the figure number? What is that figure number? 5.1. Take a note in your notebooks also to study 5.1, the labelings properly. You get diagram based questions, diagram 5.1, that's important. I told it the other day also, I think. Now this group of cells here, what is this organelle? This is marked as chloroplast. The name of the cells are not given here in the figure. You may write the name of the cells as mesophyll cells. What are this group of cells called? This group of cells are called mesophyll cells. And what is so special in them? They have got a large number of chloroplasts. They have got a large number of chloroplasts, and that's why the rate of photosynthesis is much higher in them as compared to other group of cells. At the same time, I talk about the epidermal cells, and just above the epidermal cells, there is always a waxy coat. There is always a waxy coat. Now, this waxy coat has got many other significance to talk about, not exactly directly talking about photosynthesis. What I am saying, right now try remembering what is the name of these cells. Which type of cells show a very high rate of photosynthesis? Mesophyll cells. What is the reason? Because they have large number of chloroplasts. So this point is very clear. But additionally, I am also talking about this waxy cuticle. Waxy cuticle, generally the thick leaves, quite a number of times. For example, if I talk about the mango leaves, all of you must have observed that the mango, the upper layer is little bit waxy and shiny. The upper layer is, this leaf or these types of leaves can hold water for a long time because the surface evaporation will be much lesser for them. The surface evaporation is much lesser. The water lost by these leaves will be much lesser because they have got that waxy coat on the upper surface. So that is related to some other processes. Right now we are not talking about that. Now go back to this concept here. We are trying to understand that this particular process of photosynthesis produces glucose. What is the fate of this glucose? What happens to this glucose? Plants produce food in the form of glucose. So this glucose immediately gets converted into a bit complex form known as sucrose. The plant cells have undergone the process of photosynthesis, prepared organic food in the form of glucose, but immediately the glucose gets converted into sucrose, and then this sucrose will have two different fate. What? This sucrose, most of it will get dissolved in the cell sap of phloem cells. The cell sap of phloem cells. What is phloem? What is phloem?
The tissue that
It is a type of a vascular bundle, conducting tissue. It is a type of a conducting tissue of the plant, and this conducting tissue helps in transport of food. Phloem helps in transport of food. So I am saying that this glucose, once it is formed in the plant, gets converted to sucrose, and a major part of sucrose would immediately get dissolved in the cell sap. What is cell sap? Every particular plant cell has got the vacuole inside. And inside the vacuole, what is there? The water and the minerals. So what is the water and the minerals known as? Are you able to relate what I am talking about? The sap. When I talk about any particular plant cell, does the plant cell has a vacuole like this inside? Yes, every plant cell will have a vacuole like this inside. What is this vacuole containing? This vacuole is always containing water and minerals. And what is this water and minerals? Collectively known as, this is what is known as the sap. Clear? Now, this glucose immediately gets dissolved in the sap of the phloem cells and then starts getting distributed to all parts of the plant. And this particular process of distribution of the food, what is this process of distribution of food known as? This process is known as translocation. Take a note of this word. What is translocation? Process of distribution of soluble food by phloem. What is translocation? Process of distribution of soluble food. Always remember I am talking about, yes? ये पूरा लिखो. This lecture points, 10 standard students, you should keep writing very fast. Additional question answers, differences, definitions I will give you. But this lecture points, main keywords, please write. Now bolo. Translocation, I am telling you again. The definition, likho. All of you should write down this definition. What is the definition of translocation? Process of distribution of soluble food. Process of distribution of soluble food by the phloem. Process of distribution of soluble food by phloem is known as translocation. In your paper, you will always get just 1 mark question, 2 mark question, differences, definitions of these words you should know very clearly. Now, I'm saying that this sucrose, is it that all of it getting transported? No, all of the sucrose is not getting transported. So, a major part of the sucrose is getting transported. So, what is happening to the rest of it? The rest of it or the surplus, when we are talking about the excess, the surplus is stored in the form of starch. The surplus is stored in the form of starch. So when we are talking about the fate of the glucose, what are you supposed to write? What happens to the glucose that is formed by the process of photosynthesis? A particular amount of it immediately starts getting transported. What is that process called? Translocation. And what happens to the surplus? The surplus is always stored. Always stored in the plant part. And in what form will it be stored? It will be stored in the form of starch. That is about the fate of glucose I am talking about. Then what should happen for oxygen? Let us now try understanding what happens to oxygen and how exactly the process of release of oxygen also takes place. That also we have to come across. Now I talk about oxygen. What happens to oxygen? Is oxygen the primary product or a byproduct in the process of photosynthesis? Byproduct. Check your questions when you write your answers there. Name the byproduct. What is the meaning of byproduct? Additional product. Additional, not the main, but additional product. Now, this oxygen that we are talking about, this particular oxygen released by the process of photosynthesis, and as a result, this particular oxygen, again, if I have to understand, the major part of the oxygen, the major part is released into the atmosphere. The major part is released into the atmosphere now. And if I say that the major part is released into the atmosphere, what is the benefit of this? This oxygen is released by, into the atmosphere. Which particular structure in the plant is helping in the release? Stomata. So now that we talk about the stomata, yes, by the process of diffusion, the oxygen will be released out of the leaf cells, released into the atmosphere. Can we talk about any benefit of the oxygen release?
It helps animals.
Respiration. Helps in animal respiration. What is the significance of the oxygen release? Right one, significance of the oxygen release. Oxygen release very much helps in the process of animal respiration. So that's the reason whenever we are talking about, say suppose I talk about a particular plant, a big tree, during the daytime when you sit under the shade of the tree, it's quite refreshing. Sitting under the shade of the tree during the daytime is quite refreshing, but the same tree, under the tree when we sit at night, that becomes quite suffocating. Why? Because during the daytime the rate of photosynthesis is very high, and during the daytime the release of oxygen is also quite very high. So we are constantly getting adequate amount of oxygen and the process of respiration is favored. But the same thing, the same tree, under that tree when we are sitting at night, what happens is, now the intensity of light is low, the rate of photosynthesis is lesser, oxygen release is lesser. So that's the reason no wonder that same tree when we are sitting at night we feel suffocated because of the deficiency of oxygen being built up. Right? So that also will come across. Now, isn't that all? When we are talking about the plant cells, are they releasing all the oxygen that they produce by the process of photosynthesis? No. The plant cells will utilize, the plant cells will reutilize some of the oxygen that they are producing. Whatever amount of oxygen is produced in these cells, they are not going to release all of it. Some of the oxygen will go back to the plant cells, will be absorbed by the plant cells. Then what would be the fate of a small amount of oxygen? Some amount of oxygen is also used by the plant cells for the breakdown of glucose. For the breakdown of glucose for what? For the breakdown of glucose to release energy. But this is only a small amount of oxygen I am talking about. A small amount of oxygen will be absorbed by the plant cells. The major amount is always released by the method of diffusion. And a small amount of oxygen is always absorbed by the plant cells again to break down the glucose. But why should the plant cells break down the glucose? Why does the plant cell require energy? What should be the need for the plant cells to produce energy? The plant cells are not jumping, hopping, running, talking like us. Why should the plant cells require so much of energy? For the process of transport, for the process of growth, for the process of cell division, for the process of formation of fruits, seeds, flowers, the entire process of growth, distribution of food, distribution of water, very much energy is required, right? So now we are talking about what is the fate of the glucose, what is the fate of the oxygen, now you know. Water, what would be the concept of water? Water, of course, another byproduct. What will happen to water? Water, again, some of the plant cells, some of the cells will absorb small amount of water and some amount of water will also be released in the form of vapor and distributed in the cells. So, major, you are to remember what happens to glucose and what happens to oxygen. Any doubts here? We are talking about the raw materials, we are talking about the products, we have already talked about the chlorophyll, chloroplast. Now, we also have to understand a little bit about what are the steps of photosynthesis. The process of photosynthesis that we are talking about is just a skeletal concept that we are understanding here. It has a whole lot of chemical reactions. So much of ions and electrons and etc. involved. It's a complex set of reactions that we understand taking place in the chloroplast. Some of the reactions in the grana and some of the reactions in the stroma. So now, when we try understanding that photosynthesis, is it that all the reactions of photosynthesis which I may understand, roughly around 25, 26 steps of reactions are there. Should we understand that all these reactions require sunlight? No, all of them does not require sunlight. Though we say photosynthesis, synthesis means formation. Formation of what? Glucose. Photo, in the presence of light. So yes, synthesis of glucose is very much happening in the presence of light, but there are a lot of reactions which will not actually be directly dependent on light. So let us try understanding certain set of reactions. To understand this concept, we are to understand photosynthesis under two phases. What are the two phases? Light dependent phase and light independent phase. The entire set of photosynthetic reactions can be studied under two groups of reactions. Certain set of reactions go 2 minutes. Now, when we are talking about the set of reactions in photosynthesis, the set of reactions, as I said, some of them are dependent on light and some of them are not dependent on light. So let us just try to first of all summarize what are those reactions. Okay, this we will need again. Summarize those reactions. So what am I going to write down here is what are the events of the entire process of photosynthesis. What are the events? We are not going to study the reactions. These are not there in your syllabus, but we are going to only name some of the important reactions. What are those? Let us study one by one. The first reaction is absorption of light energy by chlorophyll. Absorption of light energy by chlorophyll. That's the first reaction. And this itself is an elaborate set of chemical reactions. But as I said, we are just learning the summary right now. Absorption of light energy by chlorophyll. What is the second? Absorption of light energy by chlorophyll. Then what happens? Now chlorophyll traps solar energy and the process is initiated. Then next what? Conversion of the light energy. All of you will write all these three events properly. Conversion of light energy. Conversion of light energy to chemical energy. Conversion of light energy to chemical energy. Try understanding this point. Light energy, yes, sunlight. What is the conversion? We are saying conversion of light energy to chemical energy. How? This light energy is trapped and what is formed? Glucose is formed. Glucose is a form of chemical compound. It's a biomolecule getting formed. Chemical energy. But why energy? Because once glucose is broken down, this again can release a whole lot of energy. That's why. So, what is the transformation of energy that takes place during photosynthesis? What is your answer?
Light energy.
Chemical energy. What is the transformation of energy that takes place? Light energy to chemical energy. So, you understand why light energy? Because sunlight trapped. Why chemical energy has been mentioned here? Because glucose itself is a source of energy. And just a while ago, I mentioned that oxygen is being trapped, absorbed by the plant cells also, because oxygen itself is necessary for the process of breakdown of glucose. Now, next is the third step. Let us talk about the continuation of the second. I'm still writing down the second. Second continuation is the breakdown of the water molecule. The second step, again I continue here, the breakdown of water molecule. The breakdown of water molecule to release. The breakdown of the water molecule to release hydrogen. To release hydrogen ions and oxygen. To release hydrogen ions and oxygen. What is this process known as? This process is known as photolysis. What is this process known as? Photolysis. You have to remember the equation also. Breakdown of water always gives hydrogen ions and oxygen. Now, whenever we are talking about photolysis, what is photolysis? The definition is what? The breakdown of the water molecule in the presence of sunlight, because we are talking about the word photo again. The process of breakdown of water in the presence of sunlight to give rise to what? To give rise to hydrogen and oxygen. Take a note of this. Take a note of this. When I talk about oxygen, now again if I ask you that the process of photosynthesis very much releases oxygen, but what is the source of oxygen release? From where is oxygen released during the process of photosynthesis? What is your answer? From where? From which particular compound water is released? Oxygen is released. From which particular compound oxygen is released? Water. Because what are the raw materials that we are talking about? Water and carbon dioxide both. These are the two compounds which are reacting. And oxygen is getting released as a major byproduct. So what is the source of oxygen release? The source of oxygen release is water. Are we ever writing carbon dioxide? No, we never write carbon dioxide because carbon dioxide in this process is never getting broken down. It rather starts combining with so many other different type of compounds to become complex glucose. What is the source of oxygen release? Water. So what is the splitting of water? Breakdown of the water. You can also use the word splitting here. You may come across the word splitting also maybe in our books written. Splitting of the water molecule means breakdown of the water molecule in the presence of light to give rise to what? Hydrogen and oxygen. And the third step. Now I talk about the third step. What is the third step? conversion of or reduction of. We talk about reduction of carbon dioxide to form carbohydrate. Reduction of carbon dioxide to form carbohydrate. To form carbohydrate. Which form of carbohydrate I am talking about? The form of carbohydrate that I am talking about is glucose. Are these three steps clear to all of you? So what are the three steps, four steps rather? The second step is a little bit elaborate. What are the three major steps we are talking about summarizing the entire process of photosynthesis? This itself is a 3-mark question. Just to write down, see it is so easy for you all. Just to write down these 3 steps and you get full 3 marks there. So what are the 3 major steps? Absorption of light energy by chlorophyll. Absorption of light energy by chlorophyll. Once chlorophyll is activated by trapping sunlight, then only the rest of the steps can happen. But this particular process is absolutely dependent on sunlight and takes place in the grana. This entire process of activation of sunlight by chlorophyll is very much dependent on a specific intensity of sunlight. Maybe at this intensity of sunlight, this process may not happen. By 7 o'clock, 8 o'clock in the evening, this will not happen. 10 o'clock at night, this will not happen. But maybe again it will happen by tomorrow 6 o'clock early morning. The intensity of sunlight should be a little bit of a definite strength. Then only the activation of chlorophyll starts. Unless and until the chlorophyll is activated, the rest of the processes will not get started. Is this clear? Now, once this step is done, then this is followed by the rest of the equation, the rest of the reactions. We are just summarizing, saying that conversion of the light energy to chemical energy. And this is one of the most important steps to remember, the breakdown of the water. This particular step, the breakdown of the water, this also is absolutely dependent on sunlight, and this also takes place in the grana. The breakdown of the water to give rise to oxygen, this also is absolutely dependent on sunlight and takes place in the grana. What about this one, the reduction of carbon dioxide? This is independent of sunlight and this takes place in the stroma. So I am talking about certain equations, certain reactions of photosynthesis that takes place in the stroma and some which takes place in the grana. Let me summarize here. I am saying these reactions which are taking place in the grana are the ones which are absolutely dependent on sunlight. The reactions which are taking place in the grana are the ones which are dependent on sunlight, and the reactions which are not dependent and the reactions which are taking place in the grana are the ones which are independent of sunlight. Here I have written 3 reactions. The first 2 taking place in the grana. Which was grana, do you remember? The bundle of the stacks of thylakoids I showed you. And the stroma. What is stroma? Are you following? Are you following? If not following, you have to ask questions. If not following, you have to ask questions. This behavior I will not tolerate in the next class. You know what I'm speaking about. I don't want to embarrass you in front of everybody. You know what I mean, because this is a habit that most of you do in your schools. And some of your schools are very famous for this. ये यहाँ पे नहीं चलने वाला है. Please make it very clear. You all very much understand now that you all are here only because of the effort of your parents. Everybody cannot afford this place. I am making it very clear. Everybody cannot afford this place, remember. Once you are here for better grades. What we are speaking, try to understand, and half of your study is done here. The next time, if you are entertaining anybody, you'll also be in trouble, I'm telling you. Be very sincere in the classroom. Then we all teachers are there to help you extra. Don't do this. You are not understanding. I know these all are new things for you. These are new things for you, but try to understand. You are not understanding, not following. Ask twice, thrice. That is a better idea. Okay? So now what I'm talking about is three different concepts. I'm saying that these are certain reactions. Now these reactions, this is taking place in the grana, this set of reactions taking place in the grana, this reaction taking place in the stroma. But what is the other way of understanding is, I may understand that there are certain set of reactions which are light dependent reactions in photosynthesis. So is it actually that all reactions of photosynthesis not dependent on sunlight? Yes, that is true. All reactions of photosynthesis are not directly dependent on sunlight. So light dependent reactions, where does light dependent reactions take place? Light dependent reactions takes place in the grana always. All the reactions which take place in the grana, or say the other way, all the reactions which are light dependent will always take place in the grana. Then can you tell me, if that is so and if they are light dependent, then what part of the day they should be taking place? Daytime, absolutely. So all these reactions, and I'm repeatedly telling you that these are those type of reactions which are constantly dependent on a specific intensity of light. So they are definitely taking place during the daytime. Following or not? Then I'll come back to this point later. Let us talk about the other side. Now, what can be the other side? The light independent reactions. The light independent set of reactions. Now, if these are the light independent set of reactions, grana. If these are the set of reactions in the grana, then where will these set of reactions take place? It will take place in the stroma. Daytime. What about this side? All throughout the day, day and night. It will take place all throughout the day. So these are those set of reactions which will take place in the evening also, midnight also, 6 o'clock also, 4 o'clock also. At all times, this type of reactions will happen, provided the products are available in the plant cells. Okay. Something more we try understanding. A prominent reaction of the light phase is what? A prominent reaction of the light phase is the photolysis of water. Now, do you know what is photolysis of water?
Yes.
What is it? What is photolysis of water? What is photolysis of water? Koshish karo. What did I explain? You read out at least from there. What is photolysis of water? And oxygen. The release of oxygen by the breakdown of water. That is photolysis. So light dependent set of reactions has many reactions, but this is only one that we are talking about. What about this side? We are talking about light independent, and what is it? We are talking about one very important reaction, and that is the reduction of carbon dioxide. Reduction of carbon dioxide to form what?
Carbohydrate.
Carbohydrate. What is the form of carbohydrate? Glucose. Clear till here? So when we are talking about the basic concept of photosynthesis, what did we learn now? Photosynthesis has got two set of reactions: light phase, light dependent phase, light independent phase. I want all of you to write down this. The major 2-3 differences between light and dark set of reactions. Where do they take place? Then the rate again is lower. The rate is lower. I talk about something more if I have to discuss here could be that the plants are storing food in the form of glucose, in the form of starch. When would the plant use this starch? Can you tell me one or two conditions? When would the plant use this food in the form of starch?
During cloudy days.
On cloudy days, correct? And monsoon days, night time. So now at night when the rate of photosynthesis is lesser, the starch starts getting broken down to glucose. Monsoon time, we understand 3 months of rainfall, the rate of photosynthesis is much lesser. But then by the month of October, November, again the same plants are still surviving. How? Because the plants have stored adequate amount of food which can allow them survive for 2-3 months adequate. Yes, go. It is?
There are snake and indoor animals
Indoor, they don't because their stomata arrangement of stomata is different. Right? The arrangement of the leaves are different. The stomata is different. So these type of plants, the amount of water loss by evaporation is minimum. So they don't require a very high intensity of sunlight. At the minimal intensity also they can carry out. But then the process of photosynthesis is much lesser as compared to all these different type of plants. So desert plants you talk about, aquatic plants you talk about, the indoor plants you talk about, arrangement of the stomata different. The layers of cells and the thickness of the cuticle different. So every leaf will not have the same feature. Understand? Every particular leaf will not have the same layers of cells also. I talk about the tulsi leaves, few layers of cells. I talk about mango, bit more thicker. I talk about aloe vera, bit more thicker. So when I talk about the layers, the cuticle, the arrangement of the stomata, everything is different. So this is about the concept of photosynthesis. Just one or two more concepts to talk about. When we talk about, look at your volume there straight away, factors affecting photosynthesis. Look into your volume, factors affecting photosynthesis, and that is page 137. Tick that, factors affecting photosynthesis. The first point is light intensity. You have to read from those points there. Light intensity. Now try to understand if the intensity of sunlight is high. Intensity means the strength of sunlight. If I understand that at the start of the day, at one particular day, what is happening is, as the day starts by 5 o'clock, the day starts at 5 o'clock and I understand the rate of the process. So maybe at 5 a.m. and then 6 a.m. and then 7 a.m. and then 8 a.m. So what my understanding is, the entire rate of photosynthesis as the day progresses, the rate of photosynthesis also keeps increasing. Intensity of sunlight increases, the rate of photosynthesis also increases. But is it the same all throughout the day? Meaning, is it continuous? That if I understand, maybe by 2 p.m. when the intensity of sunlight is at its highest, then also the rate remains same. No, at that time, the stomata starts closing down. When the rate of, or when the strength of sunlight is too much, till a particular level it will keep on increasing. But after a particular time, when the strength of the strength of sunlight is too much, the stomata closes down. And if the stomata is closing down, what is the problem? The carbon dioxide diffusion, is it happening? No, carbon dioxide diffusion is not happening. Can photosynthesis happen? No. So that's why now it becomes stabilized. It becomes stabilized. So that is one. When again we talk about intensity of sunlight, again we talk about the next point, see there, carbon dioxide concentration. Just 2 points for you to understand. Carbon dioxide concentration. Do you know what is the average concentration of carbon dioxide in the atmosphere? What is it? 0.03 to 0.04%. As long as in the air the percent of carbon dioxide is this much, not a problem. The rate of photosynthesis will keep happening. When the concentration of carbon dioxide increases beyond this 0.08, the stomata starts closing down, because at that time carbon dioxide is a pollutant. At that time carbon dioxide is not a raw material anymore. But carbon dioxide is very much necessary for the process of photosynthesis. So if I understand that when the carbon dioxide concentration increases 0.08, 0.09, 1%, so what will happen? The process of photosynthesis will slow down, slow down, slow down, and at one particular point it will stop. So again, it is not that If I talk about the carbon dioxide concentration something around 1%, is it that the rate of photosynthesis is again at its highest? No, at that time photosynthesis is not happening. So what are we summarizing here? Whether it is intensity of light or it is carbon dioxide concentration, till one particular level it will increase, till one particular limit it will increase. After that it will start becoming stabilized. It will become stabilized. Okay, understood? I will check. Now just one more thing. Check this diagram there. The open and the closed stomata.
Yes.
The open and the closed stomata, that again remains as homework for the next day. Give me one pen. Open and the closed stomata that you'll have to draw in your notebooks. Both. How will you draw? This is your page. You will not draw side by side. One, open stomata, closed stomata, neat diagram and label properly. Please show your work and you leave the classroom. Why? Why?
I asked you this place where it's in the
Disgrace at the start of the session.
storage area, but not
What a disgrace for the subject. Storage area your bio book is.
Ma'am, I have a doubt in this one. Is this correct?
No, one after the other. One after the other.
Is this correct? This third one.
This one.
No, third one.
How many molecules are?
No, man, third one.
Which is the question?
Mention two sides of the plant where the process takes place.
Mention two sites where the process of photosynthesis takes place. Photosynthesis takes place in the guard cells.
Stomata.
You will write guard cells. Photosynthesis takes place in the leaves. Site of photosynthesis that I asked you. Guards, what is it? Site of photosynthesis. You are supposed to write guard cells. Guard cells, mesophyll cells, etc.
this I wrote this one.
You should know all these concepts very, very clearly.
I was in the last class.
This I wrote it.
Diagram did I know? This I did not ask you to draw. This is this additional that I am explaining you. This you will never get in the exam to draw. Where are those questions? No, the plans no. Guard cells you can write, mesophyll cells you can write. Which one is your homework? Do not write this. Two sides of photosynthesis, write down guard cells, mesophyll cells. Homework.
I haven't done it.
Why?
This is the first
This is your first lecture.
of biology.
Achha. Get the homework question and please get it done along with what I gave you today. Okay.
I haven't done the homework.
Complete and show me along with today's homework. Homework.
Excuse me, ma'am. I was also absent in last class, so.
Those of you who remained absent, please complete
But
the
I've written the
homework.
question.
Please be very attentive, bacha. Okay, don't be distracted in the classroom. You are the one no, with whom I talked just now. Huh? And no, this one is very naughty, but इसका भी class लेगा. तुम्हारा दोस्त आ गया? वो गया उसको homework दिखाया उसने मुझे.
दिखाया.
Ma'am, half of.
Okay, what is your name? Yaksh.
Daksh.
Please be very serious.
Ma'am,
होमवर्क कहाँ है?
Can you please wait for me?
ma'am,
हाँ एक होमवर्क कहाँ है? किसने दिया ये मुझे?
इसका बुक है. नाइस तेरा.
Where did you write that? Two side. Okay.
Ma'am, actually, I've completed half of it. Should I show it next?
Mention.
She was not there, ma'am.
Soil में कौन सा photosynthesis होता है?
Beyond the top.
Such a disgrace you all are. See it? ऐसे क्वेश्चन तुम लोग लिखेगा ना तो मेरा नाम कभी पूछना भी मत और कभी बाहर बोलना भी मत कि कौन सी
नहीं आपसे भी
Ma'am, actually, half of it. Today's work is enough.
She was not there in the first
Initial
class.
part is there.
So you did not write those questions.
Questions
These
are
are only half the
only
notes.
half of it are
अच्छा
there.
कंप्लीट करके मुझे नेक्स्ट डे क्वेश्चन दो.
He is a difference. Yeah, I think he wrote.
All done. Hey, who's finished this? Thank you. The